Free socks.
Put the needle on the record.
Brunson stops on a dime, launches. Oh yeah! Jalen Brunson buries it.
They give it to B. All right, here it is. Bernard looking for 50, and he's got it. Back-to-back 50-point games for Bernard King.
Now has Starks for Ewing. Ewing with the spin. Ewing, yes! 1 8 seconds remaining. The Knicks lead by 1.
Oh, that needle's always on the record. This is Tim. This is New York Knicks Unleashed. Want to talk about the Knicks 119-111 win over the Cleveland Cavaliers. Oh, it was opening night at MSG. My voice is still shot a little bit. But you know what? This was a fun opener. This was almost a coast-to-coast game for the Knicks. And honestly, there was a different feel. There was a different atmosphere, I would say, on the court. There was just there was a certain je ne sais quoi. This Knicks team looked fresh. They looked different. The offense was something that we had seen being worked on during training camp and during the preseason, but then we really truly got to see it in full effect with that 33-point first quarter. Then they finished it off with a 32-point second quarter. Even the announcers were taking note of the New York Knicks. This is the Knicks' first basket.
I'm new, of course, to the Knicks and playing a different way than what their fans have seen. Brunson, his first shot, knocks down a three. Porty has had a nice impact. Brunson goes right, and Tyson scoops inside.
Hakaporty actually did have a really nice game. Not really a nice game, but he had an early impact. Cat also, of course, had picked up 2 quick fouls. He was playing with that grade 2 quad strain, but one didn't have to do with the other. But the Knicks had this type of offense that was fluid. You watched them in the transition, and they did something that we had not seen them do for an extended period of time. I don't know. They went to the bench. Wait a minute. We've said it before. The cataracts are gone. He looked down the bench and saw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys played off this bench. Now, I would like to see a little bit more production out of the bench, but they did have 38 points. But they kept up the flow. They kept up the fluidity. You literally had a I'm going to say a team-oriented win. It was not just fixating on Brunson, who had a terrible shooting night at 5 for 18, but he was 12 for 13 from the free throw line for only 23 points, had 5 assists, 2 turnovers. But it was a game where they facilitated. It was a game where if you watched it, you were like, okay, this is a little bit different now. The Knicks did have a pretty good offense last year, so we're not going to take that away from, of course, the Tom Thibodeau. But it really looked different. It looked quick. It looked concise. They basically got into their offense a lot quicker. There was the ball movement. The ball movement was what astounded me. Watching them move it around left and right. It was the extra pass. It was the, like I said, if you take a look at the first play, Bridges brought the ball. First of all, Bridges on that first point for the Knicks, first 2 points, I should say, Bridges brought the ball up. OG Anunoby dribbled off a screen. Ariel Hakaporty made a play off a short roll. Karl-Anthony Towns, the big cat, the big bodega, makes that extra pass. And what happens? Wide open corner shot, 3-pointer for the Brunson. And that really just kicked off the game. And like I said, Brunson had a bad shooting night, 5 for 18 for 23. He was one of only 5 Knicks that scored between 15. He was one of the 5 Knicks who scored between 15 and 24 points. It just shows the difference. The offense just looked different. Now again, this is minus Josh Hart and the venerable Mitchie the Kid Robinson. But it didn't look clunky. It didn't get bogged down. And to me, I think that was one of the biggest things that we haven't seen in a long time. Defensively, they were still there. They had some moments. And again, you also had some moments against the Cavs. But they had some moments where they had a few defensive laps. But to me, it almost seems like this game, just from the stands, was never in doubt. That we had the ability, and we kind of knew during stretches that we could score. At one point in time, Cleveland had come back to take a 2-point lead. And what did the Knicks do? Well, the Knicks just rattle off 14 points, 14-0. They go on a 14-0 run. And like I said, Cleveland came out and erased the 7-point deficit. Took a 2-point lead in the fourth. In the Tom Thibodeau days, I would be a little cryy. I would be a little upset. But then, like I said, it's like they flipped the switch. And the answer was 14 straight points, a 14-0 run. And really, Cleveland, after that point in time, was never a threat. To me, they played faster. They played with... And watching them efficiently move the ball up the floor was astounding. I mean, it was one of those things that you literally enjoyed to watch. It was not a great showing for Jordan Clarkson, but Clarkson was in 13 minutes, was 2 for 7 for 4 points. But it's the first game of the season. Landry Shamet, it came up like 7-up on a couple big 3-pointers with his 9 points, 2 for 4 from the field, 2 for 3 from 3. It just looked good. You had Miles McBride, the Deuce, with a big 15 points. Also picked up some fouls, but he had a big 15 points. He was 4 from 6 from 3. The Knicks finished 4 for 40 from the 3-point line. I mean, I don't know what else to say about this team right now, but I always think of the movie Major League. And there's a scene before the first game of the season when Rick Vaughn is sitting in the locker room, flicking the ball up in the air, looking nervous, looking pensive. And then the astounding Jake Taylor came over, grabbed the ball, and told him to relax because he said, you know what? We got 162 of these. Want to know, we still have 82 more games. So there is going to be the ups, there is going to be the downs. But like I said, for a first game for the Mike Brown regime, and there's questions about Mike Brown. There's questions about what he could do, what he might not do, what he might have been a product of in reference to being the assistant head coach over Golden State and that team, having his cart hooked up to LeBron. We think about it and we're kind of like, okay, you know what? Is he a product? And I've said this before, product of the players around. I've said this before with Mike Brown, and we did a video earlier. I think that if you take a look, we went through all the head coaches that came in, not as a first year head coach, but as a head coach in the first season that they took the helm of a team and led them to the playoffs and led them to a championship. And it wasn't a long list, but it was a very distinguished list. And here's the thing. I think Mike Brown could be on that list. There's going to be major factors that are going to be concerned here. The injury factor is always going to be there. The factor of who and what you're going to get out of certain players is always going to be there. I think that if you take a look at this Knicks team, I think OG Anunoby at times is going to be something that you are going to heavily rely on. And I think that his presence in the lineup with consistency is going to be needed. You have to hope that Brunson, who evidently lost weight, we've talked about this during training camp or before training camp, so he could be faster, he could be quicker, he could be stronger. I think he's going to have that key. I want to play Charles Barkley's hot take on the Knicks, and which he and Kenny Smith talked about before the start of the Knicks Cavaliers game.
But the Knicks are the real deal.
Oh, stop it.
The Knicks are the real. That's a killer right there, y'all. But this is the Knicks. This is the Knicks year. They're going to the NBA Finals.
See, that's
Now put that on the.
That's worthy of
the
one
Knicks
of these.
are going to the finals.
Okay, I'll do it. Chuckster, bold. See, that's a bold one, Chuck.
Mine was bold
Shaq.
too.
No,
All
it
right,
wasn't.
Golden State going to the
No,
NBA
stop.
Finals.
I'm doing this one. Knicks going to the finals.
They're going to the finals.
You know what, Ernie? You know what you could do with that one?
Same place?
Nope. Add me to it. I'm going. Both of us are saying the same thing. They will go to the
Way
NBA
to
Finals.
cheat off my paper.
That's Charles Barkley, and of course, Kenny Smith. Charles Barkley, of course, I love the mound round of rebound. I've talked about it before. I may have been in attendance when there was an incident on Church Street Station in Orlando. I may have been in presence to that incident years ago. But this is the feel around the league, and this opening game was not a disappointment. We also now have the Boston Celtics coming up, so we're gonna have test number 2. But you know what? Let's enjoy it for today. Let's just soak in this win because, like we said, there's 81 more to go. But as always, this is Tim, this New York Knicks Unleashed, and let's go Knicks!